Let's agree on good commercial terms, di ba? But just for the benefit of everyone. Kaya nga, this is one of the major agenda. I know it's been highlighted already. It's in the top of the agenda of the government. And also, Globe is also continuously pushing for this. Now, the next please. Now, when you talk about connectivity and internet infrastructure, raw bandwidth is not enough. Yes, you need it. You need really high speed, but you also need good reachability. Ang ibig sabihin nito is, you have to be as well connected to many peering points as possible because the traffic of your customer, you don't know where it's going. So the more well connected you are, which is really reachability as we call it, and you can learn more about it in the Peering DB website, the better. Kasi yung experience mo as a subscriber will be better. Kumbaga parang, instead of moving from point A to point B via point C, or via point C, B, going to B, you can go directly from point A to point B, based on the content you're accessing. And this is very important. And as you can see, this is how the major carriers and their AS numbers are connected. Unfortunately, I don't have the data for the last two at the right, at the left. But you can do your own research and see where they are connected. Okay, next. Now, this is not to sell you anything. Hindi yung point ko kaya ako nilabas to. But I wanted to show how offers and prices are continuously being improved. It's a common comment na internet access in the Philippines, mahal yan, yeah, okay, fine. But if you can compare me from like a Singapore or a Taiwan or a Hong Kong, the infrastructure is very different, di ba? But the point here is, like for 5 meg na dating 2,300, now it's gone down to about, what, 1.5? It's continuously being improved so that more people can afford, or even just a basic. By the way, this has voice. This is not just data. This has voice already, voice bundle already. Like a 2 meg for about what? 1,000 pesos. 2 Mbps, imagine. I can imagine yung 64K mo, how many thousands of dollars? 10,000. 500,000 pesos for 64K, 20 years ago. Ilang 64K sa 2 meg? Do the math. And dito, you only pay what? 1,099 pesos, di ba? Yes, it's a work in progress, but that's how we as the service providers are really trying our best to make sure that we continuously make affordable internet services. Next. Okay, so the future. I thought maybe not to talk much about the future of infrastructure, but rather more on what internet services would look like. Okay? Okay, no, before. Yeah. There's this thing called connected living, and this is a third point in the GSMA where they look at different aspects of different industries, whether that's education, health, utilities, embedded mobile, and see how they can bring it all together and harness the power of the internet. Some examples here, as you can see. In the utility case, lahat ng mga metro natin, whether that's electricity, water, etc., the ability to be able to manage, control, read, all remotely using internet infrastructure. Connected homes. You probably have seen in other places, in advanced markets, how they're able to control everything in the home. The number one application which we feel is going to be very relevant is actually just basic home security. That is something that hasn't really taken off. And imagine if you're paying, if you look at the market, like the AV market, Muna, doon mo tayo magsimula. If you're willing to pay for a broadband of 1,500, and you give the capability to remotely monitor door open, window break, smoke alarm, etc. All centrally from a 911 type of a contact center at the end. That would be something that is very useful. Today, we do something similar to that, pero in the B2B market. If every time you see a delivery van or truck that carries high stake goods, let's say milk, for example, that's a high stakes goods. Those trucks are actually monitored already. If somebody tries to hijack that truck, those are linked back using the network, internet, through a contact 24/7 center. That is, by the way, linked up to the police. Okay? So pag may nangyari noon, automatically may coordination. But that's in the B2B. Imagine yung possibilities in the B2C market. Okay, so ibang kwento na yun pagka magkakatungtong na, iba na yun. Wala, labas na tayo. But we provide the facility. All of the electronics that you have, and you've seen this in the recent Barcelona event, you know, Huawei and sino pa, naglabas ng mga smart na, not the watch, but rather a bracelet that can capture information and at the same time upload information in the cloud. And stuff on education, payments, and we have a speaker later that will probably expound more on how payments will evolve. And of course, vehicles, connected vehicles. And government. We can't stress enough the initiatives of e-government. Next. However, when you try to do all of these things, there's also challenges associated with it. For example, okay, stop na ba? Today, service providers are up against the OTT players and even non-traditional providers. And the key things the challenges that service providers must face is making sure that we have maintained the right quality of experience. Ilan sa inyo dito na-complain mabagal ng internet? Don't be afraid. Kasi that's normal behavior. Kung hindi ka na-complain, abnormal ka. But that's the reality because all of us, we have peak periods and non-peak periods, di ba? So it's really how you manage customer experience, especially during peak and non-peak. Kaya when you get a service, it's very clear, di ba? The performance expectation during peak and non-peak. Stuff like FUP, I don't want to talk about it more because that topic has had a lot of press in the past month or so. So, skip na natin. Next. When you talk about all of the devices that you have, and certainly the Philippines is the fastest growing smartphone market. So, anong kailangan pag-isipan ngayon? How to improve coverage, indoor coverage, how to improve availability of broadband connectivity to your subscribers. And when you move into things like, to the right, the connected living, aside from the fact that you have to maintain quality, the key question, and we mentioned it kanina yun, is how do you make sure that data is properly protected and secured? Because here, you will have a lot of personal information that you will be uploading or capturing from the cloud. Those are questions that need to be answered. We're not there yet. In fact, not just the private sector, even government is also in the process of actually making sure that all of these are covered. Last slide na. Okay, can you just bring it out na lahat? Okay. I guess as a concluding slide, and what we're saying is, as service providers, we have begun to of course, we've been investing and continue to invest on emerging technologies to meet this connected lifestyle, as we call it. All the way from all of the advanced network technologies that you're seeing in the market today, gigabit, small cells, LTE, to all of the managed and cloud services. The devices, slowly you will see them coming into the market, okay? Partners, I can't stress it enough, all of the stuff that we do, we always do it with partners. In the different business models that we work with on partners. From a Globe standpoint, you have our commitment in terms of making sure that we will continue to drive internet quality, capabilities, and making sure that the customer experience for the service continues to improve and be world-class. And maybe in the next 20 years, if we're still in the same industry, Dr. Bill, you should keynote that in the next 20 years. We'll be happy to give you the next update and the next wave of Philippine Internet. Maraming salamat.
And that was Mr. Coque Caraval, Globe Telecom. Right now, we all know that mobile usage of internet on smartphones is so prevalent here in the Philippines. And I myself came from an internet company. And I know that arguably the next battle of internet is on mobile. Here to talk more about mobile usage of internet in the Philippines, let's all welcome the product manager of LG Mobile Philippines, Ms. Faye Mijares.
Hi, so good afternoon already to each and every one of you. I am very much pleased and honored to meet each and every one of you here. Now, for those who doesn't know me yet, again, let me personally introduce myself. I'm Faye Mijares, LG Electronics Philippines Product Manager, and I'll be raffling off a phone later. So that's one thing that you have to watch out. Anyway, in today's celebration of the 20th anniversary of the internet in the Philippines, we at LG Electronics is very much thrilled and honored to be given a chance to show you why the internet and mobile innovation goes hand in hand. Sabi nga kanina ni Globe, mobile is actually the growing technology to push the internet further. And simply put, a mobile device wouldn't be called as mobile at all without the internet. Now, at this very moment, allow me to take you through what LG's significant contribution had been in today's complete mobile experience. Let's travel back when the days using mobile phones had been simpler, where we use it just simply for call and text or basic functions, and up until today, where we call our mobile phones as smartphones, living up to its name, smart, and becoming our daily partner in our daily lives. Now, I wouldn't go back in 20 years' time, where it all started for the internet, but I will go back on the days when we have relied already on 2G and 3G, and even the Wi-Fi connectivity for internet. Now, let's begin our journey with these stylish devices. I'm not sure if all of you are familiar with these devices. Are you quite familiar? Well, as you can see back then, LG have launched these luxury phones. You know, who wouldn't forget the first ever chocolate phone, the Shine, and of course the Prada, especially for women out there. Now, admittedly, these handsets, but by the time they were launched, were quite expensive. And not just because they are stylish, but also even because the technology behind being connected, katulad nga ng sinabi kanina, is quite expensive and cost a lot. Now, if you look at the phones, form factor-wise, they still do have the keypads. But then, they are no longer the typical bar types, you know? And selectively, some of which are touch phones already. But, come to think of it, the prices of these phones back then were as high as 25K to 30,000 pesos. But thing is, majority of these handsets are only 2G capable and selectively 3G. So just imagine before, you're paying 30,000 for a phone that has an internet speed of only around 150 kilobits per second. So kanina yung pinag-uusapan, ngayon Mbps na tayo, pero before, it's kilobits per second and you're paying for 30,000 pesos. Now, I don't know if it's plain coincidence, but probably it comes with innovation that with the born of more touch phones, kanina kasi more on the born type phones or with keypads, with the born of more touch phones and QWERTY devices, there have been now a wider selection of phones that are 2G, 3G, and Wi-Fi enabled that no longer cost 30,000 pesos. Who would not forget our successful first ever touch device, the Cookie Phone KP500, in which at the time that we launched it, it cost only 12,990. It was 2G and it was touch and everybody was happy. And eventually, with the success of KP500, our line of Cookie series have evolved, offering 3G and Wi-Fi enabled devices. And I believe some of you might have actually bought a Cookie phone here. Some of you have been an owner. Anyway, of course, the innovation continued with the entrance of what we now call the smartphones, particularly Android phones for LG, in which we have launched it way back 2010 in the Philippines. It all started with our Optimus series, such as the Optimus One. We have the Optimus 2X Black, and we have also launched our 3D device, in which these phones back then already embodies the following features. We have been bragging about the finest displays, premium style. Also, there goes the battery innovation, life-founded UX, and this time around, a new level of mobile connectivity. This time, faster than ever. From the way we see it, as the market continues to shift from feature phones to smartphones, so does the demand increases for faster mobile internet usage. So that is basically 3G to LTE connectivity. And when you say LTE connectivity, globally speaking, it is what's synonymous with LG. Why is it so? As you can see here, for those who are not aware, LG is actually a global leader in essential LTE patents and have been able to achieve all of these significant contributions in terms of LTE connectivity. LG have actually sold millions of LTE handsets globally and have been consistently the #1 company for LTE patents starting 2011, 2012, and even until 2013. Now, in my presentation, as you can see, here is a significant milestone of what has been LG contributed to the LTE. Beginning in 2007, LG aggressively took the lead in LTE during the early stages of LTE development. LG was the first company to demonstrate LTE technology and quickly thereafter became the key supplier of LTE test devices to vendors and operators. Sadly to say, this is more of a global level actually. As a result of its consistent contributions to the advancement of LTE, LG became the world's largest LTE patent holder. And in 2011, based on its LTE know-how, LG successfully launched the world's first HD LTE smartphone, which is the LG Optimus True HD LTE, which has not been launched here in the Philippines. But then, what I'm trying to say is that this marked an impressive technological achievement and subsequently resulted in an equally impressive sales for LG, reflecting the growing interest among consumers, and that is basically all things LTE. Now, following the success of the LG Optimus True HD LTE, LG then demonstrated the world's first VoLTE, or we call as the voice of LTE calling technology. Another example of LG's commitment to continually push the industry forward. Now, as what majority of us knows here, LTE, which is a kind of mobile internet evolution, paved way for what used to be the call and text, MMS, downloading and streaming that takes forever, to more exciting and faster things that you can do with your mobile phones. So there goes the HD TV streaming. There is also the high-resolution video telephony, wherein it doesn't just stop on the simple video call, but also in terms of sharing and information sharing, it's now made possible. Of course, with LTE, network gaming is more possible, and the fluid navigation using third-party apps such as the Waze, and of course, even the Google Maps. And of course, real-time feeds on your social networking accounts, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Now, all of this kind of experience had been made possible because of our network operators, like Globe, of course, had been made possible with them, and LG offering different sets of leading LTE devices to deliver and let consumers experience both mobile innovation and superb mobile internet. Now, as a matter of fact, just to let you know and inform you, our set of leading LTE devices are award-winning ones. We have our phablet device, which is the G Pro, which actually bagged the best LTE device or handset during the Telecom LTE Awards of 2013. And of course, who would not know our flagship smartphone, the LG G2, which has been hailed as the king of Android phones last year. So almost all of the industry awards have been awarded with the LG G2, which is actually the phone that we will be raffling off later. So, this one. Also, let me just take this opportunity because a while ago they have mentioned, Lucas mentioned about the Mobile World Congress that happened just last month. Let me just take this opportunity to share that LG also got this year's most innovative device manufacturer during the Mobile World Congress. So it's actually an honor to say. And globally speaking, LG is actually already number 3. And locally speaking, LG is already number 2 in terms of market share. That's in terms of value proposition. So who wouldn't go wrong for technological innovation and of course the mobile internet? Now, all of which evidently stands for what LG is all about, innovation. And as what you have witnessed, it's not just plain innovation on the physical phone itself. We consider and innovate on what matters most to us, most to you, and it's more of the connectivity, mobile internet. So again, thank you so much for having us here, and happy 20th anniversary to the Philippine Internet.
Thank you very much, Ms. Harris. I've heard a quiet hush over the raffle later on the LG device, so please stay for that. Guys, again, today we are celebrating 20 years of internet in the Philippines, and of course, the 17 years of cyber press in the country. Hindi ko na babanggitin kasi yung pioneer members namin, baka malaman na kita. They specifically told me. We'd like to thank everyone who are tweeting and posting messages about this event. Please continue using the hashtag 20PHNet and Vision 2020. Now, to shed light into open source technology, peer-to-peer digital currency, also known as Bitcoin. May we have on stage now Mr. Lasse Berg Oliset, I hope I pronounced it right, from Bitcoin Philippines.
Thank you. I'm co-founder of buybitcoin.ph, and we made it easy to buy and sell bitcoins in the Philippines. This will be a short introduction to Bitcoin. What it is, its challenges, and its potential. And I'm very happy to be here today because I see a lot of similarities between where the internet was 20 years ago and where Bitcoin is today. So, before we talk about how Bitcoin is being used as currency and for payments, I would like to briefly take a step back and talk about the foundation that makes Bitcoin possible. At its core, Bitcoin is actually a technology for decentralized databases. Before Bitcoin, all databases were created and controlled by a single party. The reason for this is, if you have a decentralized database that everyone can make changes to, no one had figured out how to achieve agreement on which changes to accept. For instance, say I make a change to the database and someone else makes a contradicting change. How can it be decided which change to accept? Next, please. So computer scientists had actually tried to solve this problem for 30 years before Bitcoin was released, and it came with a solution to the problem. Next, please. So as a technology for decentralized databases, Bitcoin can actually serve as infrastructure for many different kinds of applications, where currency and payments is just one of them. And you can compare it to the internet. The internet is a technology infrastructure that allows one computer to send a message to another computer. In itself, that sounds pretty boring, but it's on top of this infrastructure that people have built amazing things like email and YouTube and Facebook. And while a decentralized database may also sound uninteresting at first, I'll talk about soon how very interesting things are already being built on top of it. Next. And finally, it's important to note that Bitcoin is not a single company or an organization. It's a piece of open source software developed by many different people, just like there's no single company developing or publishing the operating system Linux that you probably know. And our company, BuyBitcoin.ph, is just one among many companies around the world that deals in Bitcoin. Next. So what are some of the potential applications of this technology for decentralized databases? Next. And next. You can have decentralized email. And next. Dropbox. Next. Next. And stock exchanges or even notaries. Now, one advantage that all of these have in common is that you're not relying on one third party to be operational. Imagine if Google had a technical problem someday that makes me unable to access my Gmail account. This would not happen with these decentralized services, because if one computer in the network fails, there's 1,000 others ready to take over. Or Google might allow the NSA to read through my personal email and violate my privacy. A decentralized email service, such as BitMessage, which is one that's already been built. Such a service can be called trustless, because no one but yourself can read your email, not even Google or the NSA. Next. Oh, back. But of course, the application that has received the most attention is the use of Bitcoin as currency and as a payment network. And that's what I'll talk more about now. So, to understand how it works, we can imagine a Bitcoin network with only 3 participants, A, B, and C. In reality, there's 1,000 or tens of thousands or more. But in this example, we have just 3. Next, please. And next. So, in this database, the database contains public keys, which can be compared to account numbers, and the database also contains balances. So you can see how A has 8 bitcoins, B has 6 bitcoins, and C has 3.68 bitcoins. And all 3 participants has a complete copy, a local copy of the database. So let's say that A decides that he wants to send 4 bitcoins to B. He creates a message that says, move 4 bitcoins from A to B. Then he signs the message with his private key, P, which proves that he's the owner of that account. And only A has the private key. Private key is not stored in the database, but when he signs the message with the private key, he proves that he has access to the private key. He then sends the message to everyone else in the network, and when B and C receive the message, they update their version of the database so that A now only has 4 bitcoins and B now has 10 bitcoins. So that's actually the basics of how a Bitcoin transaction works. Next, please. A bit more. Yes. So it turns out that this model gives Bitcoin some attractive properties as a payment network. It's accessible to everyone who can access the internet or even just use a cell phone. If you want, you can be your own bank in the sense that you hold your Bitcoins yourself. This means anyone can open an account without having to get an application approved first. That means no credit checks. It means no required minimum balance. And it means no account fees. And being native to the internet, Bitcoin is of course born with a global reach. So anyone can send Bitcoins from Europe or the US or anywhere else to, for instance, the Philippines in seconds. And Bitcoin has very low fees of about $1 per transaction. And this is a fixed fee that doesn't change whether you're sending $1 across the world or $10 million across the world. It's just $1. So those were some of the properties of Bitcoin as a payment network. Here are some properties of Bitcoin as a currency. And currently the price of 1 Bitcoin is about $550, which might sound like a lot, but each Bitcoin can actually be easily divided down to 8 decimal places. So many merchants now quote their customers in million Bitcoins instead of Bitcoins. There are currently 12.5 million Bitcoins that have been issued by the network. And this will increase until it reaches 21 million Bitcoin. Then no more will be issued. And the rate at which it will be issued can be seen on the graph. So you can see that in the year 2040, we will almost have reached 21 million Bitcoins. And this monetary policy is actually embedded in the Bitcoin software. And it's actually mathematically impossible for any single person to change it. Even the inventor of Bitcoin or the current developers of Bitcoin cannot change this. So that gives Bitcoin a strictly limited money supply. And some compare this to the way gold works. So with the current price of 1 Bitcoin and the current supply, we can calculate the current market cap to be just less than $7 billion, which compared to most other currencies out there is of course still quite small. which leads us to one of Bitcoin's challenges, volatility. Because when something is so new and has a relatively small market cap, then it should be no surprise that the exchange rate can go up and down rather quickly. So the graph on top is the price development of Bitcoin for the past 2 years, and the scale is logarithmic. So it started out 2 years ago with being just around $3, and now it's about $500. So you can see how this has been quite volatile. But if we look at history, this has actually happened before. In the middle of the 19th century, petroleum entered the markets for the first time as a highly traded commodity. And as you can see, the price of petroleum was actually very volatile for the first several decades. But as the market for petroleum grew, and as the market became more sure of exactly how useful this petroleum stuff was, the market came closer to discovering a price, and the volatility greatly diminished. So you can see, you can see for the first 2 decades it was very volatile, and then the volatility increased. So I think therefore that it's reasonable to expect that if Bitcoin grows, and general usage of Bitcoin grows, and the market cap of Bitcoin grows, then in that case we can also expect that the volatility will decrease significantly. So which companies actually accept Bitcoin as payment today? You obviously can't spend Bitcoins everywhere yet because it's still pretty new. But if you've decided that you want to buy something, and you've decided you only want to buy it with Bitcoins, then you can also find somewhere online that will sell it and does accept Bitcoin. So there are a few Filipino e-commerce sites that accept Bitcoin, including MetroDeal.com, local version of Groupon, and also Cash Pinoy will soon accept it. True Property is an online real estate agent in the Philippines where some of the properties for sale can be bought or rented for Bitcoins. The biggest overseas company to accept Bitcoin is Overstock.com. They do about $1 billion in sales per year, and they're publicly traded on NASDAQ. In their first month of accepting Bitcoin payments, they had sales in Bitcoin for about $1 million. WordPress.com, the world's biggest blogging platform, accepts Bitcoin, as well as the gaming company Zynga, and Shopify allows their 60,000 different merchants to accept Bitcoin. So there are a lot of others, but these are some of the bigger ones. And you might ask, if the volatility of Bitcoin isn't a big problem for merchants accepting payments. However, many merchants choose to use Bitcoin only as a payment method and not use Bitcoin as a store of value. So they will typically use a service that converts the received Bitcoins to dollars or pesos immediately, so they have no exchange rate risk. But they can still accept Bitcoin payments from anywhere in the world. So what role could Bitcoin play in the Philippines? Bitcoin can give unrestricted access to financial services for tens of millions of underbanked. With Bitcoin, any Filipino with a cell phone can transact with any financial service in the world that deals in Bitcoin. Bitcoin also allows everyone to pay on any website in the world that accepts Bitcoin without even having a bank account. And Bitcoin is another remittance channel with the potential for big customer savings. Now, we of course think that Bitcoin has a lot of potential, not just as a currency, but also as an infrastructure for many other applications besides currency and payments. And we're not alone. So Bill Gates from Microsoft said that Bitcoin is a technological tour de force. Former Vice President from the US, Al Gore, said, "I'm a big fan of Bitcoin." And even Ben Bernanke from the Federal Reserve of the US said virtual currencies may hold long-term promise. And now we're celebrating 20 years of the internet in the Philippines. We think that in another 20 years, there's a good chance that we'll be celebrating Bitcoin too. In many ways, Bitcoin is actually at the same stage of development now that the internet was in 1994. So thank you for listening, and I'll be happy to answer questions from you afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Olasem. I know you guys are all excited, you're all fired up with your questions. But we will take a 10-minute intermission. So for you guys to get and grab your lunch, we'll make our Q&A and open forum and a working lunch as well. So guys, let's all be back here in 10 minutes for our open forum. Thank you very much.
Goes to you, the 12.2. You have 1 week. You can use this.
You are off. Anong nagbabayad ka? Nagbabayad ka ba?
I do. I just eat the salad.
Oops, sorry.
The grilled sauce.
Grandfather? No. Oh my God! Oh my God, yung ano ko, yung bag ko. What? Kasi naman laki mas tayo lang siya. Please, my Okay naman. Okay naman. Ano na? Fourth year na ako. Meron kami world fish.
Bigyan ka naman to.
Yung t-shirt niya, pag-paper. Kay Mike. Shirt din naman.
Yan, ban na ha. Ban sa radyo, bawal na patingin sa radyo. Official ban na kayo. Paano ko naman baka? Ay! Birthday club. Birthday club. Girlfriend ko. Kuya. Bawal na. Bawal
Ang premyo ito.
wala akong sinabi ha.
Ilagay mo na.
Wala akong sinabi. GG po, birds. Smartphone. Alam na ka. Alam na talaga sa puso. Chat from
Walang
hindi ko convergence eh. Pero pinanap ko naman yung sige, sige. Oo, 3 minutes. 3 minutes na lang? 3 minutes may card. Okay. May order na ako. One more evening. Hindi, lagyan mo siya. 5 pa ka. Sige. Sige ka ba? Iyan. Bigyan ka naman ng gantong pwede. Thank you, sir.
Guys, in 5 minutes we will start the Q&A portion. So please settle down in 5 minutes. Thank you.
Balik ko eh. Ano eh, may lakit pa doon sa kampo. Eh, madali lang. Ako naman magkano doon? Anong mic? Sabihin mo na lang. Sabihin mo na lang. Gab ka na ka mag-request sa amin.
Ano ba pag-uusapan natin?
Ano? Ano? Pero ano ha? Ito. Ano, third or fourth week ko ito? Mga mic na. Parang wala yung third or fourth week ko. Dali. Ito yung target. Lock mo lang. Paano ba ginagawa? Or baka dito kayo. Pero ba rin? Pero ba rin? Pero ba rin? Papatulong kayo kala mo. Ilang mga bus na kaya na ba rin ha? Okay, mga pang-warfare ha? Pero mga hanggang lang. Bagay lang ba? Talaga? Hindi mo na kailangan mag-apil. Kung mag-practice ako sa amin lang kung practice. Yan, si Bart. You're the geek. May nagilis ko sa mga tao. Parang matino. Alam mo sino? Okay. Kaya mo, una nagagawa naman. Pero hindi naman nagagawa naman. Yeah, but the best right now, lots of what do you want to
Gawin natin.
to our Q&A portion. Here's the Vision 2020, looking back and looking ahead, presented by CyberPress and LG Philippines. Again, I would like to remind everyone, please tweet about this event using the hashtag Vision 2020 and 20PHNet. Here's how we will do the Q&A. We have two CyberPress officers, Paolo and Joey, with the microphones, and we would like to ask our media friends to please state their name and their network, publication, or blog before mentioning who they would like to address their question to. Okay? So right now we are officially opening the floor for questions from our media friends. Let's start off with here from with an inquiry for Mr. Lasse Bert Olsen. Sir, can you talk about the regulations about Bitcoin in the Philippines?
On regulations of Bitcoin. So the DSP recently issued a statement for the first time on Bitcoin. And what they said was that they're not going to regulate Bitcoin yet. They don't view it as a currency.